Hello, I'm Maria and welcome back to my Nook. In today's video, I'm going to be doing the currently reading tag. This tag was originally created by Charlie Ray, as far as I know, and I was tagged by Sabrina Reads and Rambles. I will try to remember to link both of them down below. I honestly feel a little bit honored about the fact that I was tagged in something like this and somebody thought of me when they tagged people for this tag. So thank you so much, Sabrina, for doing that. I am so excited about that. And let's start with the tag. I have the questions right here next to me. I'll also put them down below. I got them from Charlie Ray's original video. The first question is, how many books do you usually read at once? This question is pretty easy to answer, and that is one book. A single book. I mostly read a single book at once. I'm not really the type of person that reads a lot of books at once. My Goodreads does say that I am currently reading 2 books at the same time, but one of them is the complete Sherlock Holmes collection, and I read like maybe one Sherlock Holmes story out of that book every couple of months. So I'm not sure if I would count that as reading 2 books at the same time. The only time I can really remember that I read multiple books at the same time was in like March, April, May-ish. Back when I was reading The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. I had read The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss in February, and the sequel to that book, The Wise Man's Fear, is a brick of a book. Let me tell you, it's I think over 1,000 pages long, and the audiobook is 48 hours long. I felt like the best way to tackle The Wise Man's Fear would be to take breaks in between reading that book and read other books as well. So that's what I did. I read The Wise Man's Fear while reading other books as well, and that's why I read The Wise Man's Fear over like the span of 3 months-ish. But other than that, I don't normally read multiple books at the same time. Maybe I did once in school because I had to read a book for school and was reading a book in my free time at the same time. But then I can't really recall. And other than that, I always just read a single book at the same time because otherwise I feel like I can't focus on each book as it would deserve, and I feel like I can't really let myself fall into each book if I read multiple books at the same time. That type of situation, I think it's just not really for me, reading multiple books at the same time. It just doesn't really work for me. Sorry in case the camera angle changed slightly. I had to change the battery of my camera. And let's move on to the second question now. It's, if you're reading more than one book at a time, how do you decide when to switch to reading the other book? Do you read a certain amount of pages in each, or how do you decide to do that? As I already mentioned, I don't usually read multiple books at the same time in that type of way. When I did back in March, April, May, while I was reading The Wise Man's Fear, I didn't really put too much strategy to it in that way. I feel like I'm too much of a mood reader to do that. I just read The Wise Man's Fear whenever I felt like reading The Wise Man's Fear. I listened to a lot of the audiobook for The Wise Man's Fear and read it that way, which I mostly did while doing chores, while being on the train, while building up furniture. I even did that in a vlog. I listened to so many hours of The Wise Man's Fear while building up furniture. And whenever I felt like I wanted to put The Wise Man's Fear down, I just picked up the other book I was reading at the time and read that for a little bit. And whenever I felt like putting that one down and picking up The Wise Man's Fear again, I did that. It was all just a doing what I felt like doing what I was in the mood for doing type of situation. I didn't really say to myself like, oh, I'm gonna read 100 pages in that book, and then I'm gonna switch to The Wise Man's Fear, and then I'm gonna read 100 pages in that book, or listen to 2 hours in the audiobook and then switch back to my other book. That's not really what I did. I just did it by gut feeling, I guess. The next question is, do you ever switch bookmarks while you're partway through a book? Now, typically I don't. I would say like 95% of the time I do not. There have been a couple of times when I did. I normally don't change the bookmark while I'm reading a book because I choose the bookmark depending on like the genre of the book, the vibes the book cover or the synopsis are giving me, stuff like that. So I would choose a different bookmark for a summer romance than I would choose for a fantasy book set in winter or for a thriller or something like that. And that way I normally don't change my bookmarks while I'm partway through a book, also because I don't have that many bookmarks to choose from, and I do have a couple of favorites, obviously. I do sometimes change the bookmark in the middle of a book, and when it does happen, it's usually because I bought a new bookmark and I'm so excited about my new bookmark that I want to start using it immediately, so I do that. The other day I was reading One Dark Window by Rachel Gillick. In that book I actually switched my bookmark partway through. It was because I was using one of my absolute favorite bookmarks, maybe even the favorite bookmark of mine, because I had been using that bookmark in the book I had finished before One Dark Window. So I just thought, I'm gonna just continue using the same bookmark because I love it and I was just using it, so let's just continue using it. And then as I was reading more and more of One Dark Window, I felt like, ooh, this book has very different vibes from the bookmark. The bookmark was a very bright and cheerful type of bookmark, and the book was rather dark, but eerie, but gothic, that type of situation. And I felt like that just did not fit at all, so I switched the bookmark for that book. But other than that, it doesn't normally happen. Where do you keep the book you're currently reading? Now that is very easy to answer because I usually keep it very, very close to me, and that means it's either somewhere on the couch or my coffee table next to my couch, on the armrest of my couch, on my desk, which is right next to my couch, or it's up on my bunk bed, or at my parents' place I put my current read on my bedside table, or next to the armchair I mostly sit in. So I just usually keep the book I'm currently reading very, very close to me. No matter whether it's like a physical copy or an ebook I'm reading on my tablet or an audiobook I'm listening to on my phone. My phone is always very close to me anyway. What time of day do you spend the most time reading? Now lately it's more so in the evening, past like 4-5 p.m. ish mostly, and it used to be different. I used to start my day by reading a couple of hours, or not a couple of hours, but like an hour or two in the morning. But lately it's changed more to the evening, simply because I started doing all my chores, my to-dos, my appointments, running all my errands first thing during the day, basically, like in the morning, the forenoon, the afternoon, etc. And once I have done all the things I need to do during my day, I sit down and relax and take my book and then read, because I have realized that sometimes when I read in the morning, for example, or sometime during the day, I will sit down and try to read, but my brain will be constantly thinking about the chores or the to-dos I should be doing which I know is bullshit sometimes, because resting and recharging my batteries is also something very important to do. But my brain will still be like, ooh, you should actually be doing the dishes instead of reading right now, you know? And then I can't really focus on the book. I can't really enjoy my time reading. So I rather like to do everything I need to do and then sit down reading, so I can tell myself I've done everything I needed to do today. Everything's fine and I can relax now. Sometimes I do read in the morning, because I sometimes just have a little bit of time left before I have to get up. Or I read when I have to wait at the doctor's office for my appointment, you know, stuff like that. But usually it's in the evening lately, which I kind of want to switch back a little bit. Like, I want to try and read more at other times of the day as well, because oftentimes it also happens that I'll be looking forward to my evening reading time all day, and then once I'm done with all my chores, my appointments, my to-dos and stuff, I'll be so tired and exhausted that I don't have much energy left for reading, and then I'll be like, oh damn it, I wanted to read so badly, but then I did not read when I technically had the time, the energy, when I was in the mood for it. And now I have the time, but not the energy, and I'm not in the mood for it anymore. Which is always a bummer, because I wanted to read on that day, but then I did so much other stuff and now all my energy is gone. So I kind of want to try and also read at other times of the day again. How long do you typically read for in one go? Now this question is a little bit more difficult to answer, because first of all, how do you define in one go? Because sometimes I will read like one chapter, no matter how long the chapter is. It could be 4 pages, it could be 20 pages, but I'll read like one chapter of a book, and then I'll check my phone and answer one text message or two, and then I'll go back to my book, read another chapter, and then go back to my phone and answer another text message. That type of situation. Does that still count as reading in one go? I don't know, because by the same vein, does it still count as reading in one go if I take a quick bathroom break in between? That's my question, because I obviously do that sometimes. But if that sort of stuff counts, and even if I'm not checking my phone in between and after every chapter, I do not always do that, obviously, but sometimes I can sit for like 1 to 3-ish hours and read in one go. Not really the type of person that can sit for like 5 or 7 hours and read in one go, because then I'll get exhausted by reading. And even after reading like 3 hours or 2 hours, I'll be like, I need to do something else for a quick break. Even if it's doing the dishes. Sometimes I'll be doing chores as a break from reading, which are not really enjoyment or pleasure, you know, but I just want to do something else other than reading for 10 minutes, 15 minutes sometimes. But I can sometimes read for like 1 to 3 hours in one go. However, I typically read probably only an hour-ish. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more in one go. Reading 3 hours in one go has become a little more rare these days. Do you read hardcover books with the dust jacket on or off? Definitely off. Now this took me some time to figure out, because I don't usually read that many hardcover books anyway. I'm a huge paperback girly, as you can probably see on my bookshelf. Like last year, I think I read 3 hardcover books, and I think this year I read maybe 2 hardcover books out of all the books I've read. I just like reading paperbacks way more. They're usually cheaper. Hardcovers can be so incredibly expensive, and paperbacks are cheaper. They're less heavy, because I do carry my current reads around with me a lot of times, and they're less bulky. And I don't know, I like reading paperbacks more. But when I do read hardcovers, the dust jacket goes off. I figured that out by now, and all the time the dust jacket is like slipping and stuff, and it just takes my focus away from the story. It annoys me, it distracts me. It's just no fun. The dust jacket just goes off while reading. Which position do you mainly use to read? Now, I mainly sit while reading, usually on the couch, in the armchair at my parents' place, or in my bed. And most of the time I'm sitting with my knees bent up so I can rest my arms on my knees and hold my book like that, you know, that type of situation. But sometimes when I'm really tired of sitting, I will lay down, usually on my side, because reading on my back just doesn't work for me. It'll hurt my neck, it'll hurt my arms, because they're not made for holding a book above my head all the time. But even reading while lying on my side can be so exhausting for my arms, because I still have to kind of hold the book up a little bit and like halfway. And I don't know, just I prefer sitting, honestly. Ninth question, do you take the book you're currently reading with you everywhere you go? I wouldn't say everywhere. There are certain times and places where I don't take my current read with me, but I think 95% of the time I take my current read with me, just in case I might have time to read or will want to read. Obviously, there are times where I just know 100% I won't be able to read, I won't get the opportunity, I won't have time to read or whatever, and then I don't have to carry a heavy book with me. Other than that, I almost always take my current read with me wherever I go. Just in case I might want to read, you know? Second to last question, how often do you update your progress in the book you're currently reading on Goodreads? I used to do this religiously. I found out about Goodreads in, I think, 2021-ish, and back then I wasn't really back into reading yet. I was sort of currently reading a book that I had been currently reading for like a year at that point. So when I found out about Goodreads and being able to like track my reading, track my books, and update my reading progress and stuff like that, I did it so often. I probably updated my reading progress every time I read like, I don't know, 50 pages, 20 pages. I don't know. I did it all the time because it just made me so excited. It brought me so much joy to update my reading progress and just know that I am making progress, because it had been months at that point of me not making any progress in the book I was reading at that time. So being able to update my reading progress just also gave me so much motivation. And at that point, I was trying to get back into reading. I just wanted to finish that damn book. It was the last book in the series, and I kept telling myself I don't want to start other books before finishing that series. So I just really wanted to get that book done and have that series done, you know what I mean? But I was kind of lacking the motivation to actually sit down and read. So this whole Goodreads thing and being able to update my reading progress brought me so much motivation, and I was grasping every single crumb of motivation I was able to get by the spine and was holding it close in my hands. Back then I updated my reading progress religiously. Nowadays I update my reading progress on Goodreads once a day in the evening before I go to sleep. It's like almost a bit of a ritual, because I do this every night before I go to sleep, and I update all the reading progress I made during the day, whether I read like 3 graphic novels or I made 10 pages of progress in a single novel, or I made 50 pages of progress in 2 novels each. Whatever the progress was, I will update everything in the evening, except when I start reading a book. I usually update that whenever I do start the book, but other than that, my reading progress updates for current reads happen in the evening before I go to sleep, and I love doing that. I actually really enjoy that. Now the last question is, who would you like to tag? And for this, I think I will just tag everybody out there who wants to do this tag. If you want to do this tag, please go ahead. I will put the questions down below, and I hope you will have lots of fun doing this tag. And now with that, I will let you guys go. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Maybe let me know down in the comments what are your answers to some of these questions, if you would like to answer some of them. Or if not, you can just tell me anything else you want to tell me. Feel free to like and subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Other than that, I will see you guys somewhere else on the internet or in my next video. Bye!